Okay, we will call the meeting to order.
Okay. I brought you up the cost estimates of the water crossing and the bridge over here on Dooley Road, southeast of Stafford. Those are high. They won't run that, but because there's some of this stuff that we will do on the low water crossing. We'll take out the bridge, we'll do everything, and we'll even buy the pipes and set them and then do all the dirt work. And if you guys want to try to work with Chris to finish the top of that, or if you want to send it out for bids, or originally they talked about a 24-foot top, and I said that does not mean a 24-foot top. That won't try to, you know, the ADT on it and the negative traffic count is one. So if it's that busy up there, they can wait till they come back. So we're going to work 12-foot wide of cement. Set the two pipes.
Will they do, I guess you'll probably use like riprap down around the pipes to keep them from washing out, where that concrete come all around?
Well, part of it will, but yeah, we will use wrap around it. Actually, I got some south of town here, out to by McKinney that we'll use there. Yeah, but they'll profile it all out. Here's the plans for it. Because actually they only.
Do we need to get two bids on that, or, I mean, Chris does a good job, he's always been fair. Yeah, I'd have him give a bid and think it's in line, call it good.
Okay.
My opinion.
We will. It's gonna look silly, we're gonna have to put some signing up there. I know, but just to see my way, we gotta put about, probably there's 3 signs on each side of it.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean weight limit signs, or?
No, it's,
You gotta take down the barbed wire fence to get to this bridge.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. That's the one we tried to close, if you remember, and that's kind of a little contention with me anyway, but it is what it is. I'm gonna change it.
So where is this at?
Mile north of 4th Street, mile east of 281.
If you turn and go right there west of Cody Dick's house, it's down there a mile.
That way you can't go down.
Yeah.
No, you can.
If you go down the gate, you can go across the new bridge. But then it goes down there half mile and dead ends.
So there's nowhere out.
Yeah, there's a flood area,
Jerry Long.
a impassable
Isn't
burn line
there a
water.
rough lease up in there
And
somewhere?
do not
Yes,
enter
Willis has
with
a
all 3 of
doctor's.
them on each side.
David Salem's got some up there too on the north end.
Yeah.
so this is one that's south of David Salem.
No, no, this is a mile off to, this is when
Mile, oh, mile.
remember when we were gonna close that road?
Yes.
We had a
Yes.
meeting and we had some opposition to it. And it's because it landlocked their, herders have a pasture up in there, and it would have
Oh,
landlocked them, and you can't landlock somebody.
How about Bliss was in a,
Well, Bliss's deal was completely different. He said he didn't have access to his pasture. That's not true. He has access to his pasture.
have you heard
He
from him?
he didn't want to have to ford a creek somewhere. Well, that's what everybody else does.
Yeah, all it takes is a little rock in the bottom of it, and
Well,
you go right across it.
But yeah, I mean, what his bone of contention was with that was beyond me, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Because his property line comes up to the road.
Yes. And then you get on the other side of the bridge and there's actually a gate, but he has to, but because it's an open road, that's how that comes about.
Yeah.
This will be paid with that federal fund.
Yeah, that's all through that bridge replacement. We got up to $200,000, so anything we have left off of the regular bridge, we can apply toward this.
So we won't have to pay the 84,000.
No.
Okay.
So I would expect we'd have 20 to maybe $30,000 left off this other structure
Okay.
that we can put toward the cement, and basically it's toward the cement type of stuff on that. But it also gets us off of doing one bridge inspection every 2 years, which,
Yeah.
in 10 years, I guess that would amount to about $1,000 some odd dollars. No, that has to be done every year.
Does it
Actually.
say wood structure?
Well, because it's deficient. So it's one that actually has to be inspected every year. Because we also have one next to Quivira. We have two that are out by, we have two ramp bridges and then all our rest of our bridge. We have two that are here and then we have, everything else is here.
Yeah.
And the one over there by Quivira, I'm refraining from doing any type of steel structure there just because of the salt content. I'd rather see a cement structure go in over there somewhere, so we keep applying for it. So we'll just keep putting it in the loop.
Okay.
We'll be all right.
How far from Quivira is that?
It's on the east, on the west side of Quivira, so it's on 130th Avenue is what it is.
How close to the,
That's right up to Quivira's border.
it could be underwater too.
Yeah, I don't know that any of that ever is because it's, I mean, yeah.
Is that the bridge that me and you went down and looked, where the river was kind of curving
It was
around?
good going way to the south of it, yes. Yeah, there's a lot of drain or channel work you'll have to be done there sometime. I don't think you can eat back in there very much from it, but in that sand, who knows?
Yeah. Maybe this winter we can do a drive around and
Sure.
look at some of this stuff.
After the big snow.
Huh?
After the big snow.
Yeah.
We might have seen our last rain till next spring.
But other than that, we continue we're mowing. We started to get into the bottoms in a few places, just where we usually deadhead back or they split off. I told them not to split to so we're up in the northeast right now. There's a lot of that, so we just mow down and go back and get on that. Like we're around this right now.
Yeah.
So, but they won't get into the bottoms of everything until we get back around one time. So the northeast corner left to do, and the southeast corner left to do, and then we'll start in the bottoms. Because everything on them shoulders after that we mowed last time just looked so ragged because it was so tall.
Yeah.
It looked horrendous to me. I mean, it just, I wasn't very proud of it.
Imagine the snow is dry.
And I mean, it wasn't the guys' fault. It was just so big and tough and thick.
Well, we had a lot of rain. Everything grew well.
So, yeah.
Y'all gonna get down the bottom pretty good now.
Yeah, they haven't had any issues.
Even north of my house, you can probably get through there.
So, yeah, we need to get them on one side. And
Because
we've got some of that done.
You don't have very many opportunities to get in there, but it's not wet, so.
We were pulling up some roads down Rose Valley and we will stop for a little while, but try to get some of the fall crops in, so we're not behind.
If you could change, you might run up to Seward and right there where the elevator pulls out, you know, they pull out on the blacktop and then go back around. There's going to be a big old blowout right on the edge of the asphalt, starting to break that asphalt up a little bit.
Okay.
But it looks to me like the majority of the hole is probably the elevators.
Yeah,
They
it's all
put some rock in there.
Yeah.
So,
That bridge, go ahead.
it was starting to break off the edge of the asphalt, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you need to get on and tell them they need to get that fixed or what.
Yeah, I mean, it benefits them more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And they ought to absorb some of it, yes, I agree. So and they've always been real good to get on, so.
Yep.
I do know they need to clean out culvert over in Hudson, it's on Hudson. Radium is blocked that drains the driveway that goes into that little, east of the senior citizen store there.
Yeah.
We cleaned that out finally and we did, because it backed up that water over there to elevate it for so long. But now the pipe is cleaned out, so it's cold cleaner, getting it cleaned up.
Have you used that deal yet?
Yeah, actually works pretty good.
How big does that,
It will go to a 24-inch pipe, so.
I know I know for like townships, if they call you on culverts, if you guys have time, you'll come put culverts in. For like little cities like Radium and Seward, if they have some culvert problems, do you do the same type of deal?
If they will ask us.
And it's basically just cost.
Yeah. The cost of us, just to cover ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as they've got the rest of the drainage done, it doesn't Like all time, all Chevy's rusted out eventually.
Yeah.
So,
At our last fire meeting up there, we went and blew out some of their culverts, and a couple of them got the old concretes where they separated, so when we're blowing through, it's blowing up the center of the road too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
found.
Yeah.
sometimes they've silted in, sometimes they've moved. It just depends on where they've put, you know, but it's easy. Unfortunately, with the dirt road in the ditch, you have to keep pulling it up. I mean, it's just life. Just the way it is. Unless you've got some really great dirt. It doesn't, but a lot of nature and everything still goes that way. It goes to a low spot. It's just so.
Can we do something with that bridge there north of, sitting right south of Cindy's where that approach is so rough coming in from the north?
The only thing we can do about that is when we clean out some ditches next spring is to come in there and link this and linking that out. I think we did that a little bit on the big one, but we'll do that on that.
It's fine on the
Because
south side, but the north side is.
Yeah, it's a pretty good jump up in
Yeah.
there. I guess if a kid, you could have fun with it, but
Oh,
I don't.
He could end up in a creek
Well,
too.
that's very true.
It bottoms out the shock absorbers in my car if you hit that.
What are you doing there?
30 mile an hour. That's my wife driving, it's only 30 mile an hour. I say, stay out of the middle.
What's the speed limit on country road?
If it's not posted, it's 55 mile an hour.
Hey, I wasn't going over, she wasn't going over 30. I said, don't hit the middle of
Replacement
that.
of funds, KDOT, effective
On what? On
for
these?
your bridge,
These are both done through that bridge program that we got the bridge paid for on this.
federal funds.
So it was through the state selection fund, so I mean,
That's
it
okay.
was something that we approved a long time ago.
I do remember.
It was a year ago, about the time we closed the bridge and then we got approved for the bridge and it's just taking
But the
this
funding
long.
will come from the state of Kansas.
Yes, we will pay
That's
it
all I
and
need to
then we'll get reimbursed, is what how
Yeah.
it goes.
Okay.
So we don't have to do anything with this.
No, it was
just gonna happen.
just information, sorry. I thought I was gonna have a right of way grant request from Golden Bell Telephone. They're going to run fiber from Stafford to Hudson.
Yeah, they got approved for their,
This is,
that grant, that letter of support you guys
Yeah.
sent. They got approved for that, program.
to help
High-speed broadband to Hudson, Radium, and Seward, along with the
Good.
rural residents of
That's
Stafford
gonna be a
County.
pretty handy.
So they're going
So-
from Stafford to Hudson right now, and then they're gonna go on up to Radium and Sioux?
Well, they said what they like to do, what he came down and saw me. They'll run it up to Hudson and
She
then
said
branch off from there, but eventually they would like to tie into it from the west so they can make a loop, so if they end up getting a break somewhere, they can backfeed it from the other way so it doesn't knock everybody out. Like if the line gets broke between here and Maxville, St. John and Stafford are out because there is no way to backfeed it.
Yeah.
So that's what their ultimate goal is, and that's what they got some of this broadband money with, to improve broadband.
Are they gonna go down Stafford Owens Road and come in?
Yes. So, and that was the other thing, so, I mean, we've been charged for a permit, so there's quite a few boards to go. So you want me to just use my discretion, what we charge them, or,
Yeah.
because, okay. Because actually, that's a lot of boards, because there's driveways and other things that I don't want them running through. Some of that hard ground over there north of Stafford, I'm not sure do anything but pull up big old chunks.
I mean, I would say if they're,
It'll be that way till you turn and go west towards Hudson.
Yeah, and then some of that sometimes just gets hard underneath some of that sand.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they'll plow, but I want them plowing it as deep as they can. Because actually we call for a 48-inch below the flow line of the ditch. That's, you can't plow doing that. And it's usually, you can't hardly do anything. So we usually work with them on that, just so we don't have too many issues there. And that's just to protect us later if we want to do maintenance or whatnot in the ditch.
Yeah.
So, residents along this line can hook into the broadband, or is it going
I
just to
think
the
it's going
cities?
to be more of a wireless deal right now, is what I got. Because I think eventually they would like to, in the towns is, I think that, well, I know in a lot of their towns, they run fiber from their line to the house.
Yeah,
And eventually that's what they'll do in all their stuff.
When will they start doing that?
They have to have it done by the end of the year.
Oh, my.
everything
Yes.
has to be done.
Holy
Yeah, because it's that Sparks money or.
Even on
CARES
round,
money or
isn't
whatever.
this round two?
That's what he told me.
They're gonna have to change some of those
That's too fast.
regulations on that spark funding. Because they're trying to kick out some stuff that, like the subscriptions for the schools on this Telenet Learning, they're saying they can only pay for a half a year because, you know, and you can't do that
Yeah.
with a software
Yeah.
subscription. And they're trying to kick out the refrigerator cube we bought because no vaccines are available yet. You know, we're leaving it in there. We paid for it, if we have to pay it back, fine, but it's just little things like that, they're nitpicking that money to death, so.
The state is, just so they can get it turned back to
I
them, or they
would guess
can
so,
spend it however they want.
I would guess so, but it's like, you can't buy 6-month software subscription, or, you know, we're not gonna use all the hand sanitizer we bought by December 31st, or, it's just stupid, they're
That's
reason,
something.
so.
You're gonna have to be using it longer than that anyway.
Yeah, this isn't going to be.
No, but-
This, yeah.
That's just.
It's like I was talking to the health department gals about the freezer because of this vaccine is gonna have to be stored so cold and it's gonna come to the health department. It's not gonna come to the hospitals or anybody else because actually I think the health department is the one that's responsible for vaccinations. So we'll be crossing that bridge with that. I mean,
So-
buying a freezer to
Yeah.
keep this cold, but it's an ungodly cold. Oh my, you know, 150 below or something. It's not, no.
Vaccine, what vaccines
The vaccine they're coming from the COVID.
that they're anticipating?
Yes.
150
No.
below.
That's what they're saying now, but that could change next
If
week.
it's not a
Well, yeah, and it all
will be a killer.
it all depends on the manufacturer of this too, what the temperature is. But yet, when this also comes in, you're gonna have to be ready to accept it,
Yeah.
so how do you not buy one?
Excuse me, what do you mean ready to accept it?
The vaccine, when it comes,
But what do you mean ready to accept it, that you need to be ready to accept
Storage.
We
it?
have to have
Ship.
storage, the
Okay.
freezer.
you can't do anything if you don't have any place to put it.
Who's sending the vaccine here for you to
Nobody.
put it in
Yeah.
storage?
Nobody has it.
But
Anticipation of it.
anticipation of it?
So this is purely speculation on what temperature the vaccine has to be stored at.
They're all very, very cold, I know that. Now, do I have the exact numbers?
Yeah,
No.
well, it's like smallpox had to be kept below freezing. There was no specific, temperature, it just had to be frozen. This is smallpox, this is years and years ago.
Okay.
And the first measles vaccine came out, had to be frozen, but there was no specific point of temperature that it had to be stored at. It just said store below freezing.
Once it's frozen,
You
is there
would think
really
that
any
would-
difference?
That would make sense.
So,
How cold is cold?
I don't know, I mean,
That's
that's,
really weird.
but what is there, 3 of them doing the vaccine?
the ones you hear about, there's probably more than that.
And are we gonna get the vaccine in the first few shipments? No.
No.
It'll go to your high-risk areas first.
Or your, how many older people you have?
Yeah. New York, Los Angeles will get it first, in my opinion.
There better be something to India.
And Brazil.
Yes. Well, yeah. And
But it
Brazil.
will be worldwide. I mean, it's not gonna be just the US.
No,
So you're going to accept a vaccine if they send it here? You're going to just say, okay?
Yeah, I would think if it's been approved, I would.
Do you know that they've already done testing on people with the vaccine? And it causes high fever, causes people to grit their teeth because it affects their neurological.
If it's approved and they make it accessible to the counties, I would think that we would have to accept it, and then it's up to the person themselves to decide. You know, it's like all the vaccines with kids and stuff. Some people want to do it, some people don't. But we need to have the availability that if they want it, they can get it from us. We're not going to mandate that people take it, but if they come out with an approved vaccine, then we need to have the ability to store it here, and if somebody comes in and wants it, we need to be able to give it to them. But it's up to the person whether they want to look into the side effects and what they think to do themselves. At least that's my opinion.
I agree. I don't think it'll be mandatory.
No,
You
it
don't?
should- it
Excuse
should
me,
be
you don't think it'd be mandatory?
No.
They can make it.
No, they can't
It's
make
just
it
like
mandatory.
vaccines now. You can't make people.
It'll be available.
If they come up with the vaccine, I'm not going to take it.
Because
You're right.
he's afraid of needles.
Unless they can give it a sugar cube, I mean. I'm sure people die from infections from a shot every day.
I'll get in line behind Clay and see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll let Clay go first.
I'll be right in behind Clay.
Well, one of the trials, and I agree with what you're saying, one of the trials they suspended because of the untoward effects of the vaccine. So that's out the window.
See, as soon as you said vaccine, I started getting scared because I'm like, oh no.
But in one trial, they've got 30,000 people enrolled.
Really?
And there's other companies that are pursuing the vaccine that you don't read about.
Yes. Yeah, and the FDA come out and said there is no shortcut to this.
No, absolutely not.
And there shouldn't be, I agree. I mean, just because it is needed does not need to be, we need to take shortcuts or.
The only reason why it's been able to come along as quick as it has is because coronavirus has been around. Different strains of the coronavirus has been around for 15 years. So they've done a lot of the background work on it.
Yeah.
So this is just a
different
different strain, so they've been able to start ahead of the game. But whatever.
It took 5 years for the Ebola vaccine to be perfected.
You need to put on your emergency preparedness director hat now.
Okay.
I got a text message this morning from Trish Wade, basically saying I'd like to call an emergency board meeting to discuss possible changes in our quarantine policy. I had a few school board members call me. They're upset that the kids are having to quarantine for 14 days. I kind of told them that's a guideline, the schools are on their own deal, but I don't think we're looking to put out a standard to lower the quarantine deal.
That comes from KDHE, that's not us deciding that.
Yeah.
This is done by medical people long before, so.
Yeah, I just thought I got a text.
I understand that,
Well,
but-
and Emily called the
I would
board
like a
member
copy of
yesterday
the
and,
Orders that you and Rob have to deliver for quarantine though. Do you have a copy of that?
You'll have to get with the health department because I don't see them.
They don't know, they're sealed envelopes.
They are sealed in envelope and all we do is deliver an envelope.
All right.
That's all we do.
I wondered how it was worded. I didn't know.
I have not seen one
days from
since
your
the
exposure.
start of anything.
From exposure or from the date?
No, from when the exposure is determined, it's 14 days.
but I know
And it says
Emily
in
did
the
call.
word
me
14 days or
Yeah.
is
It
written,
is
all
what it
right?
is.
I'm sure it is. But you got people that don't even pay attention to it,
No.
so.
I'm gonna take them out front and have them help me figure out where to put that box.
Oh,
So,
okay, so if you decide something different.
I'll tell, are you gonna get it put in this week for me?
Probably today.
You better go look now.
Okay. I just wanna make sure they're cool with it.
Okay. I think that's all I have.
Oh, gee, there was only.
So, yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, I can understand that. We talked a little bit about it before. I mean, some of these people are being quarantined over and over and over. But what do you do?
And they're missing.
Once a person has coronavirus and then is tested negative, then if they're exposed, do they have to be
Are they
quarantined again?
quarantined for 14
Or do they
days?
Now, that one, I
consider
don't know, because see, because at one time they said you can't get it again. Well,
There's a place in
a guy out
they use
in Nevada or
Walmart.
somewhere proved
But
that's not true.
The only
So
people
I-
that they will
I don't
test
know.
are asymptomatic, so that
Yeah.
they're trying to get as many
We see, that's why some of
positive- or, I'm
this, they're
sorry,
wanting to do some
negatives,
testing in
so
school
they can
because of
drive down the
asymptomatic people.
percentages
Yeah.
of positives, so they can
But then
keep
there's
the
people
schools.
now that are refusing to take, don't want to take
But
the
I'm
test
told
because they
schools
don't
are on the
want
verge of.
Yeah.
and they don't want to have to be quarantined.
Well,
But
Nickerson's
that's
got a
an issue,
problem.
but you cannot.
They had
take
92
the test.
positives in school.
Well, you can't enforce it in Paddington.
Oh, my
No,
goodness.
well, you can, I mean,
Right after Lions
Is
played
that
in the
really-
volleyball
really
game,
wanna
they
go
tested
down?
all the students. The next day, they had 92 positive.
So I assume
I
they're
quarantine
shut down?
every day, so.
yeah, I mean, out
Virtual,
here, out
yeah.
here, we do, I mean, just because it's. like this.
Do you know in Nigeria, they took a papaya and they named it Sarah Sanderman for 49 and it came back positive, papaya juice.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's not a perfect test, but it's what we got, I guess, but I've known a lot of people that, it's worked both ways. I've known people that I know had it that came back negative.
Well, there's a 98 point something recovery rate.
Yeah,
And a lot
I
of
agree.
people that, say for instance, I go and get a test today and it comes positive, and then 2 weeks I get another test and it comes up positive, they count that as 2 positive tests in the numbers. So we don't know what the true numbers are.
No, I can't tell you how they determine.
the thing that bothers me about that quarantine
That's
deal,
all my kettle
the
of
person
fish.
that actually tests positive, once they go back and have 3 non-fever days, and they test negative, get to come back to school quicker
I
than
don't
the
think-
ones that are quarantined.
Yes,
That does not make sense.
no, but it's the way that it is.
Well,
Because your exposure is still 12 days, or 14 days after that person is no longer
I know.
showing symptoms.
That
Yeah,
that just doesn't add up.
there's a family that the mother had it, her kids ended up being quarantined for almost a month.
Yeah.
Poor kids, I mean,
Yeah.
is it right and is it fair? No, but life.
No,
is
it's
right.
psychological warfare.
So, well,
I
that's
think
not
the
for me to
school-
debate.
The school can make it 10 days if they wanted to. There's nothing illegal about that.
Yeah, all they're doing is setting themselves up though.
They're setting themselves up for liability.
Yeah, all it takes is one case.
That's right.
Mhm.
I would agree with that.
I
Yeah,
think,
we need to look at that.
You go back into history and look at what happened during the polio epidemic. There was people running scared and there was no tests. And you
No,
had to
because you
wait.
could just wake up the next morning.
You wake up and you have symptoms.
Yeah,
And.
that would
you
be
know,
scary.
The iron lung was invented, but now we have the ventilators, so.
Well, actually, the ventilators can make you sicker because my niece is RN. It's keeping all that bacteria in your lungs, and most of the time when people are put on ventilators, they do get sicker because they're not getting the bacteria out of their lungs. They can get pneumonia, and they can eventually die from the respirators.
I think as commissioners in the health department and the emergency preparedness director, we just kind of get what information we can and give out guidelines. And then it's up to those people to follow
Yeah.
them. We're not making mandates as far as anything.
Well, I saw on Channel 12 that Cloud County isn't even requiring masks, and then other next door neighbors are. and it's just-
There's some counties that are getting.
Well, there's some schools that aren't requiring anything.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where you're at.
They can do, they have the authority to do it.
Yep.
Whether they want to take the risk of doing it is up to them.
Yep.
That's what I've told the school board members that called me.
But like Tom said, you know, all we do is do guidelines, and
Yeah.
people follow them, they do. If they don't,
A lot of them think that we make that 14-day mandate. We don't make the
No,
14
that
day.
is guidelines set by CDC and KDHE.
And all that
And we
Shannon
go by
or the health
KDHE.
department is doing is passing that on.
Yes.
They're not making it either.
No,
They think we vote on all that
No.
stuff. I said, no, we don't vote on any of that stuff.
It's a public health issue, it's not and it's a problem. Everybody wants to debate this, and it's not a debate.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody likes it, but it's,
Yeah,
it's
they
just
have
what
to
you
use
got.
their own judgment, what they want to do. so.
I make a motion to accept the minutes for the September 30th meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the minutes from September 30th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
See
carried.
there, Jim.
So we go.
I gotta go look.
You to go
You have
look out
some,
front.
right, Joe?
I just have 2 victims coming in this morning, so if you look over here, I'm not here, I was downstairs talking to some victims.
We might be going.
Yeah, you said yeah.
We might be going to.
Basically, no.
Okay, well, I just wanted to let you know.
I'd like to do about a
That report, so.
10-minute executive session, discuss non-elected personnel.
Someone.
That's a motion, and then after that, we can adjourn and go outside.
A second.
And I would like that to include the commissioners, Nita, Mike, and Bryce Carter.
Okay, we have a motion to go into executive session for 10 minutes for non-elected personnel to include the commissioners, Nita, Mike, and Bryce. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.